Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are listening from. Welcome to This Side Up podcast. I'm your host, Gerhard Odendal, from a sunny Johannesburg, South Africa. This Side Up, where we turn everything religion has messed up the right side up. And I am so excited. I am so excited to have my very good friend, Apostle Kevin Millfield, with us today for a bit of a chat. Kevin and I became friends a couple of years ago when he was in South Africa, and my life is better because he is in it. Welcome, Apostle Kevin.
Man, it is so good to not only see you, but good to be here. And I love what you are doing with This Side Up. You know, I am so fortunate that we connected some years ago and became friends and brothers in this covenant relationship. But I so respect your heart and your position and where your mindset is for the kingdom. And you are one of those guys who I've witnessed laboring tirelessly to get us into present truth and into perfect truth at the same time, to really say, guys, we gotta rethink some of the religious nonsense that we have held so sacred and so dearly. And the gift that you have to rock the boat, but do it with revelation and cause us to see the kingdom of God, the word of God. But more importantly, I think the heart of God in a different light is nothing short of brilliant and astounding. So I really appreciate that you would give me the grace and the opportunity to hang out with you today.
Thank you for those kind words. Is it okay if going forward, I just call you Kevin? We've done the formalities. Checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
And Kevin, just for those who do not know Kevin Millfield, please introduce yourself, where you at, what you're doing, what you're busy with. I know you got married a while ago. I was fortunate enough to sit with you having lunch in South Africa, and you said, man, I'm going back to the States because I got to ask this girl to marry me.
Yeah, you were the first one that I told. I told you before I said anything to her. And that's how close my relationship with you and how much I trust you. But yeah, so I'll give you the very short version of that. So just a few weeks back, I just turned 57. So I'm knocking on the door of 60 years old, and I've been in full-time ministry this year for 30 years. So I've got 30 years, half of my life, more than half of my life has been in full-time ministry. I was born in Florida, in the southern part of the United States, and grew up in the home of a hardcore Pentecostal preacher. He had two messages: heaven, hell. He really sucked at heaven, but he was awesome at hell. Like, he could make you feel like we're going to hell like probably every 2 or 3 minutes. You know, we would have services where I think I would get saved maybe like 2 or 3 times in one service, you know, at the beginning, somewhere in the middle, and then again, just to be sure. And then we came back and did it all over again. So I grew up in this very strict religious, you can't play cards, can't shoot pool, can't go to dances, can't go to movies, can't have a television in the house, can't listen to secular music, can't, all of these rules that we would attribute to holiness and righteousness, right? And so my escape mechanism, which was so crazy when I look back on it, my escape mechanism to get out of that strict environment of my father, who was a tyrant and just so domineering and so legalistic, I decided to join the Marine Corps, which is well known here in the States as being the few, the proud, the toughest branch of our military here in the States, or the United States Marines. And I thought that was a better option than sitting in my father's house. So that'll tell you kind of where my mind was. And so I did time in the Marine Corps, spent a few years there, participated in Desert Storm. I'm a one percenter that they call us here. Out of the 300 million people in the United States, I'm a one percenter, which means that there's only 1% of our entire population who have actually been in combat. So I have a combat action ribbon from the war in Desert Storm, and a very proud veteran. And I think the military is kind of what started turning my heart towards leadership and order and structure and camaraderie and band of brothers and coming together, family outside of your ethnicity and outside of your the province that you grew up in and outside of your culture and all of those things. And it began to shape me for ministry. And I spent a number of years. I planted a church in Virginia after I got out of the Marine Corps, and stayed there as the senior pastor for about 17 years. We grew the church from like a dozen people, like 12 people, to over 2,000 in those 17 years. And then God really started opening up doors for me to do a lot of traveling. And one of the places that I fell in love with was South Africa. And I remember when I went and I spent a few weeks there traveling throughout, preaching from Cape Town to Joburg to Pretoria and all the different places there. I really fell in love with the food, the culture, the people, so many things were just started pulling at my heartstrings. But one of the things that was so prevalent at that time was this. It felt like that in South Africa there was an open heaven to new revelation, that I began to hear things about the fivefold function and especially the apostolic, that I'd never heard before in my life. And I started meeting people that I thought, like, man, these people, these are the people that like really sit at the feet of Jesus and hear what he has to say. And we're over here being Martha, running around trying to, if we get programs, if we get lights, if we get smoke machines, if we get this, if we get that, if we do all these things, if we get in the community, if we hand out flyers, if we build websites, if we have connection groups, and on and on and on, work. And it made me so fall in love with it that I moved to South Africa like 2 or 3 times and lived there with the intention of trying to plant. Actually pastored an AOG church there in Sandton for quite a while. And I was sitting there with the thought of, man, I've tried it in Joburg. I've knocked on the door. It won't seem to open. And I think I even started talking. I was like, man, I'm going to move to Cape Town. So, yeah, I got on a plane, flew to Cape Town, found a little apartment right on the beach in Bloubergstrand. Beautiful, like directly across, 2-bedroom apartment. Beautiful, great price point.
I mean, who doesn't move to Cape Town?
Yeah, exactly. And I put in the application, got approved, and I was going to meet the real estate agent at a coffee shop there and sign the papers. And when I got to the coffee shop, she came in with a folder and she opened it up and got ready to hand me the pen. I heard God say, don't do this. Stop what you're doing. Go back and get your life in order, and go back and ask this girl, Jacqueline, to marry you. I'm sitting there like ready to sign and let the ink dry. That's how far it was. And I heard that very clearly. And that's when I came back and I said to you, like, man, started talking to you about, rings and maybe the possibility of finding a black diamond and all those things. Like, I'm going to go back and marry this girl. And I rushed back to the States. And one of the first things I did was say, hey, I think you and I need to get married. And that has been the single most profound and best decision that I've ever made in my adult life was marrying this woman. It has completely changed who I am as a person. And it's funny, maybe there are people that are listening that have been down the road and things haven't worked. I've been married before, but this is the first time I've been a husband. And there's a big difference between being married and being a husband, and it has changed everything. And then just months, literally months after her and I got married, we're coming up on 3 years in November. Just a few months after her and I got married, I got diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And that shut me down for almost 2 years. So I had a full prostatectomy with the surgery, and then they didn't feel like they got all the cancer, so they put me on hormone therapy for 6 months, had to go through radiation, and have had 2 additional surgeries, just had another one a month ago. Just trying to climb out of the woods. And I had spent those years between about 2012 up until just last month doing itinerant stuff, being able to travel, being able to go into different churches and different scenarios and lead sometimes for an extended period of time if they needed a bridge to get from one pastor to another, or if they were on a particular journey and they needed a transition out of tradition into kingdom. I would go in and spend a lot of years traveling and doing something I really love, to be able to focus on church growth, church structure, loving on pastors, helping them fine-tune their core leaders and things like that. And then about maybe at the beginning of this year, I started really feeling like I've got all of this, what I would call seed, all this, maybe thoughts and ideas and philosophies around ministry. But when I go into these itinerant places, I can't, it's not my place to plant my ideas, my philosophies, my vision, what I would consider to be my perspective or revelation. It's not my place to plant those things in an evangelistic service, or if somebody brings me in for a 3-night crusade, or if it's in for leadership development. So I became frustrated because I felt like, okay, I have this seed, but no garden to plant in, no place to put it there to develop these thoughts or these ideas. And for the first time, I kind of raised my hand again to the idea of what we call pastoring in our Western culture again, like full-time legitimate pastoring in the trenches, the 7 days a week. As you know, pastoring is they'll say full-time job. Pastoring is not a full-time job. Pastoring is an eternal job. It doesn't have a clock or a calendar. It has no respect for your schedule. It is 7 days a week, 24/7, 365, because we don't get to punch a clock and check in or check out, And we had kicked around the idea of planting a church. We live in a little beach town, just about 5 or 10 minutes walk down to the beach here in Virginia on the coast. And we kicked around the idea of planting a kind of an unorthodox shorts and flip-flops, beach culture, hippie vibe, come as you are, walk in, it doesn't matter if you're a man of wisdom or you're totally weird, you can fit here, kind of thing, in a culture. People who love God but hate church and don't want to do a religious kind of thing. And just about 2 months ago now, my overseer called me and said, hey, we've got a church that's in a little bit of a difficult place that I'd already had a relationship with. And he said, would you consider coming to pastor. And my wife had already said, because we were working with them in some consulting things, she said, if he calls, I think we're supposed to go. So we have just in the last 2 months stepped back into full-time pastoring after 15 years of just being itinerant and traveling and being on the road. So that's that. I know it was a long answer to a short question, but that's 57 years in a nutshell.
Wow. Okay. Well, all things work together, doesn't it? Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you're at a good place, it seems, Kevin. I'm really glad for you, and good luck with the new church. Really praying for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we both grace preachers. We love the grace message. We don't care if they call us hyper grace preachers. I mean, the grace of God is absolutely hyper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has the power to save even the biggest sinner out there, because where sin abounds, grace abounds much, much, much more.
Yeah.
But we are also come from a very apostolic background. My spiritual father being a great man of God and apostle. So we have that apostolic in our DNA, although we are, kingdom focused, kingdom minded, grace all the way. And for a lot of people, these two worlds seem to, oppose each other, because the apostolic is very much into church governance. And it sometimes can even come across as being very religious, which is something I run away from all the time. But I believe that there's a beautiful synergy between wine and wineskin.
Yeah.
And the apostolic is necessary to bring structure to the church. We have Stephen bringing a revival to Samaria, and then we have the apostles coming in to help him establish structure and
Yeah.
order. So what is your take on this? Is the apostolic reformation just another move of God, or is it the wineskin that the new wine of the New Testament, the beautiful gospel of God's grace, fits into? How do these two things work together?
Yeah. So I think that from the way that I see things in this particular season, I like the idea of new wine for a number of reasons. As a matter of fact, my wife and I for a long time did a thing on New Wine Wednesday where we would open up a bottle of wine in the Bible and talk about things like that.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
that didn't
love it.
go real well with some people here in the States, but anyway,
But listen, just tell them that on the third day, when all the wine was finished and they were supposed to go home because they were at it for 3 days already, on a
right.
3-day bender, and the wine ran out, this Jesus
Yes.
make some more.
Yeah. And what he made was new wine.
New wine, the
It was
best.
brand new wine was the best. And the prophetic voice of Isaiah comes and says that there's new wine that's found in the cluster, in the cluster.
Wow,
And
okay.
I believe that the cluster is the apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, evangelists coming together in team type ministry, in a holistic type ministry. I believe there should be apostolic structure, prophetic utterance, pastoral grace and compassion, evangelistic outreach, and teaching grounding in every household of faith. And when we become one-dimensional, we lose the ability to produce new wine that comes from the cluster. And the
Yeah.
thing about it is, when we start to really hear this idea of new wine in the new covenant, there's a couple of things that are lifted up to us. One is the thought that don't put new wine into an old wineskin. which means to us, which suggests to us that a wine skin has a shelf life. The container is not eternal. It's not permanent. It is going to come to a place where it no longer has the capacity or the quality to contain what it used to be able to house in one season, what it used to be able to protect, and what it used to be able to preserve. It now doesn't have the structure because it is temporary. It's going to evolve into a place. So Jesus would say, if you put new wine into an old wineskin, he said, you've got to be careful because the old wineskin will be destroyed. Which is really an interesting thing, because he doesn't say anything about the wine being spilled or wasted or destroyed. He just says that the wineskin would be. So when we look at that, we realize that the wine has been flowing. You can trace the wine, especially at least all the way back to Noah. And the wine has been flowing since the days of Noah and will continue to flow through different containers, through different dimensions, through different seasons, through different reformation, poured into different vessels. And we see the importance of, in every season, needing to reconsider the wine skin or the structure that we built to contain the new wine. Because I think there are a lot of ministries, a lot of churches, a lot of congregations that once really had the new wine, but because they became rigid and not flexible, not able to stretch, expand, give the wine breathing room, go with the flow, so to speak, it kind of destroyed them. I don't think that, and then maybe this is controversial, but I don't think the devil destroys churches. I think maybe it's God that comes in and says, that kind of mindset. And then the other thing that's interesting about this new wine is the description of it on the day of Pentecost, where when people saw them coming out of that experience at 9-10 o'clock in the morning, just by way of observation, the people looked at those guys and said, I think these people got a hold of new wine. Which would suggest that they have gotten a taste of something that they were not familiar with. They were not able to gauge its potency or its power.
Yeah,
and
wow.
They had been in a place of understanding. They knew how to manage old wine, because if they had been drinking old wine, they wouldn't have been drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
So the observation and the accusation is that the reason why this experience is happening is because they've obviously been partaking of something that was unpredictable.
Wow.
And that is one of the main characteristics, I believe, of the new wine, is the unpredictability of it. Not knowing exactly what we have gotten a hold of, which I think is kind of where we are in this season, because we see that maybe 30 years ago or so really started the dawning of the day of what we would call the apostles. Most Christian circles that overlap continents, major denominations and things, had only taught pastoral and evangelist as the primary tools. We need evangelists to go and win people, and then we need pastors to train, disciple, and develop. So we went through ages and ages and ages where these two pastors and evangelists were hand in hand. So it was the day of the pastor and the day of the missionary, the day of the pastor, the day of the revivalist, the day of the pastor.
You had your big famous evangelists, your Benny Hinn's and your Reinhard Bonnke's, and then you had your mega church pastors.
Yeah. And those two were running together in many ways. So one of the things that Billy Graham would do, Billy Graham would come into a city and fill up a stadium, but he would bring 200-300 pastors from that city and make sure that every one of them had cards of the people that came and accepted Jesus, received salvation at that meeting, so they could get them planted into a church. And it was a season where they were really trying to work together, the pastor and the evangelist. And then what started to happen is there was this dawning of a day that said, we need government, we need order, we need structure. We need people who can design the blueprint, the infrastructure, because what's the point of building mega churches and not building mega people?
Yes. Yeah.
And so the apostolic began to come on the scene, and it started to explode. And we noticed that there was a massive amount of people who were hungry for this revelation, this new idea that maybe apostles do exist, and we went for maybe about 20 years or so, really focusing in on the apostolic, and then we started seeing the prophetic start to emerge out of that. And we saw probably a good decade or so where we had really sound teaching around what the prophetic ministry looks like. And then the whole thing, in my opinion, went off the rails with the prophetic. I mean, just went off the rails because we started seeing social media come into play. We started seeing that we could now give people outside of our little building, we could let them peek into our windows and see what we were doing. And in some of those places that did not have government order and structure, it was like peeking into a circus freak show or a sideshow, and with people bouncing off the walls and swinging from the chandeliers and doing all kinds of craziness. And we introduced a chaotic prophetic move to people who loved it. The church became its own. Jerry Springer. You guys know Jerry Springer in South Africa?
Jerry.
Yeah. So we became the religious version of the Jerry Springer show, with drama and who's divorcing who and who's leaving who, and which pastor did we just find out is gay, and who's stealing money from the church, and who's sleeping with the secretary, and all of these things like that. And that became tabloid. The prophetic ministry became one of those things of sparks and sensation, and the crazier it is, the more people would show up to watch it or participate in it. And we found now that this, I think maybe this fivefold thing is a bit cyclical. I think maybe it kind of spins a little bit, and that maybe every generation is now getting an opportunity to see different dynamics of it, because we've now started to see over the last few years the teachers emerging again. But it's not the legalistic teachers from back in the day that's just only word of faith, name it and claim it, all those guys like that. It's the teachers who are teaching us the heart of God and teaching us the true gospel, and saying we've got to look at this in a different way. It's the people, like your friend with the Mirror Bible, to say, look, get in this and relearn, unlearn, and relearn at the same time.
Yeah, man, the mirror will change your life, eh?
Man, I'm telling you, and what we're seeing is this emerging of people who seem to be extreme gracist and are committed to saying, we've got to rethink how we've done church and ministry all these years.
Yeah.
And we've got to do it in a new and a new wine kind of way. And we're starting to see that compared with what we knew, the deconstruction and the rebuilding happening at the same time in the same season. It's like when we go into one of those shops that has the construction tape and everything up, and it'll be like, pardon our dust, we're busy renovating. Or we drive by and says, hey, we are, just so you know, it might not look like it, but we're still open for business. I think that's the day that we're kind of in right now.
Yeah.
And I think that what is happening now is that we're seeing, again, a real strong need for accurate teaching and a re-emerging. We're coming around the corner to a deep need for a strong pastoral grace again.
Yeah.
And hopefully this means that we're going to take the foundational things from the apostolic, the truth of the prophetic, the mandate of the evangelistic, but with the grounding of the teaching and also the heart, the compassion of the pastoral, and put them in one clump together and mash them together, and so crush them into oneness that new wine emerges.
Yeah. Wow. That is so profound. And I agree with you. I really think it's a new day for the church. A lot of changes happening. And what I experience is every move of God starts in the wilderness and ends up in a cathedral. So every new revelation, every new move that is happening on this planet has the potential to reform, but it also has the potential to become a religious system. You can end up, in a very religious hamster wheel.
For sure.
So I think the key is to follow and let the Holy Spirit lead us. I thank God for the gospel and the good news, and I believe that that is timeless. I think the gospel has been the message for the last 2,000 years. No matter what God is doing around us with the fivefold and with the wineskin, I also believe that the revelation of the gospel is changing, and we are getting a much, much, much clearer and better idea of the finished work of the cross. Yeah. And along with that, even the apostolic has to remain a wineskin that can host this this word. We are touching on things like inclusion, which all of a sudden is not so blasphemous.
Yeah.
And anymore, the more I understand the gospel of grace, the more things like that make sense to me. But I believe that even the apostolic or any other season or time you find yourself in has to move with the times and the seasons in order to host the latest revelation of the gospel, because the gospel is the gospel and the truth is the truth, but our understanding of that thing is growing and growing and growing, and so must the way we have church. We gather
Yeah.
together, we govern in the church, and I believe that we are at a place where God is really bringing the new wine and the new wineskin together, so
Yeah.
that something beautiful is forming. And like you said, you were itinerant for a, a couple of years now, in and out of South Africa. And all of a sudden, you find yourself as an apostle, but in the role of a pastor.
Right.
So God's really doing new things, and equipping his church to just move in a greater dimension of what he actually had in mind when he said, uh,
Yeah.
let us be the church.
It's so crazy because there are assessments that you can take about your spiritual gifting and different things like that. They've been around for a very long time. And whenever, historically, anytime I've ever taken an assessment, it was always apostolic, then teacher, then prophetic, then pastor, or then evangelist. And I'm talking about pastor and evangelist were the lowest of the lows. But everybody in those days, everybody called me Pastor Kevin, even though I could show you on a piece of paper that I did not have a grace to pastor. I mean, when I had 20 people, I would forget their names, forget the things all the things that a normal pastor would do. They would be going in for surgery. They would tell me on a Sunday, hey, I'm having surgery tomorrow. Can you come pray for me at the hospital in the morning? My surgery's at 6 a.m. Yeah, I'll be there. Me, I forget. I don't show up. And they never come back to the church again, because
Of course,
the guy that they call their pastor can't even remember to come pray for them before major surgery when they're scared out of their mind. You know what I mean? And Bishop Tudor Bismarck came to my church and corrected me in front of the whole church one Sunday. And when he was like, you're out of place. These people are calling you something that you can't be. You're an apostle, and all of that. It shifted my world. And I've been in that dimension for the longest time. But when this opportunity or this assignment, when I was sent to this church, when my overseer sent me here, I knew that God was saying that you cannot go in there being like you were in previous seasons as an apostle. This church needs pastoral grace. And so I'm busy like, okay, well, who do we have here that we can raise up as pastors? Because I'm not good at that. But man, I'm telling you, God has given me in this season a pastoral grace that I have never experienced before. It's completely supernatural. I remember people's names. I've already been to the hospital to pray for people. I gave everybody in the church my phone number, which has never happened in 30 years of ministry. They can call me, I can call them. And God has opened this place in my heart where it's like, man, I just want to get in here and love on these people. And many times in the apostolic, it's like, I want to come and minister to you, teach you, train you, but I also want to set some boundaries. So I'm going to come out and I'm going to share with you what I have to share with you, but then I'm going to go back behind the scenes, back to the green room, back to those things, and keep the distance, because we don't want familiarity to breed contempt and all those things. Sometimes the apostolic can be a bit closed off to only a core group of people who are able to get in and see behind the curtain, to see who that guy really, really is, to do life with them. And in pastoral ministry, it's like you open the doors and everybody comes on in, and everybody gets to see, and everybody gets to experience, and you get out and do life together in heart and one-on-one. And it really is, I'm convinced that if I were to go and take that assessment, I would probably register low still on pastoral and evangelistic because of the way that I might be wired. But it's the new wine that is giving me the ability to have a grace for pastoring in this season, and maybe raise up other pastoral gifts in this season, so that when it's time, I can function at my highest level. But this place doesn't need too much of an apostolic overtone at the moment. It needs a pastoral, healing, compassionate, binding up the wounds, doing life together, loving each other. I told everybody, just call me by my first name. You got to call me Apostle or anything. Just call me Kevin or that guy over there or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. I just want to get the heart of the Father in this house. And it's a new day, man. I'm telling you, it's a new day.
I blame Jacqueline for teaching you how to love.
Completely. I'm wearing 2 bracelets right now. I don't know if you can see them. The WWJD.
Mm-hmm.
So one is, what would Jesus do? The other one is, what would Jacqueline do?
That's brilliant.
That's the truth.
Brilliant.
Because I married the most loving human being that I have ever known in my life, and someone who is not overly religious, someone who is not a church girl. Jacqueline is not running around, she's not a Bible thumper. She's not any of those things like that. But she is the closest reflection to the love of God that I have ever met in my life. And she loves everybody exactly the same. It's like I'm in some dream, like this amazing, beautiful dream that I hope I never wake up from, because I can't imagine the consistency that she has. I saw it, I've seen it for years. She's one of those people that you could go back to the very first day that she popped on Facebook, and you could go all the way up till today, and you would see that there's one theme: love, 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 love. It's her obsession. Yeah. That's all she writes about. That's all she thinks about. That's all she does and talks about. And you are absolutely right. And God putting me in this marriage with her has taught me what real love is, and helped shape me into a much better person to be standing in front of a congregation that people would look at that guy and say, that's my pastor.
Wow, that's amazing. God is not a Christian, but God is love.
Yeah. Well,
look, I can say the same. I always call Elsabe, my wife, my personal prophet. Since God gave me a wife, I think my life got sorted out very quickly. She sorted me out. All my bad habits are now gone.
Yeah, exactly.
No, finds a good wife, finds a good thing. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you, Kevin. Any plans of visiting South Africa?
I would love to. With this congregation, I've shut everything down to try to focus on them for a while. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to really plan a trip. I've always wanted to bring her there. But when I come, I want to stay for at least 6 weeks or 2 months. And so I've got to get this church in a place healthy enough for me to be able to go for that kind of extended time. But I definitely want to get back because I miss the culture. I miss the people. I miss my friends there. I miss you, and the kingdom that is known and communicated among some of my beloved brothers and sisters in South Africa is priceless, and not something that we have here in the States. You know, things are getting a little bit better, but we're coming out of a very dry season spiritually in the States, and we're just starting to see the trickles of the rains starting to fall again. And our day is coming here, but we are light years behind you guys in South Africa as it relates to apostolic reformation, grace. You know, we're still over here. We're still over here. We're really busy with the rapture, man. We love that thing. Still love it. We love it, love it, love it.
I saw that. Listen, we've been through quite a ordeal a month or so ago where a very prominent Afrikaans Christian, he used to be a Christian singer, but now he's ministering as well. And he went flat out and he said, "This is the day."
Yeah.
And a lot of people streamed into the churches to get baptized, as if that's the way you get saved or raptured. It was chaos, chaos, chaos. I believe the same date went around in the States as well.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I
we
am.
do that every couple of years. Yeah,
Yeah.
we might as well make it a holiday in the States, like a national, like a public holiday.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad that I am raptured and I am seated in heavenly places.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm also so glad that he's Emmanuel, God with us. I don't have to fly away to be with Jesus. He came to earth. He walked the earth. He died on earth. His blood fell on the earth.
Yeah.
And he poured out his spirit on the earth, on all flesh.
Yeah.
So I don't have to fly away to be with him. He lives in us. So what a beautiful gospel we get to preach. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to share this word with everybody, and also very thankful for all the friends I make along the way. So we would love to have you in South Africa, but I believe you've got some plowing to do and you're in a season of building. So I'm praying for you, man. I'm praying for you, and best of luck with the new endeavor. And I'm sure it's going to be great, and God is going to use you mightily with your new church.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. For your viewers and listeners, I would ask them just pray for us. They can find me on Facebook, social media, and then they'll find the church Zion Church of Fredericksburg. They're more than welcome to hop on and see what we're busy with there, and some of the preaching and the ministry and stuff. So we invite the prayers for real.
Now, awesome. No, definitely. You are in our prayers. Well, man, can't believe our time is up. Thank you so much for hopping on. I really, really appreciate it. Your input today, your views. It's so nice to listen to you talk about the things of the kingdom and the things of God. And also just nice to talk to you.
Yeah, same, man. Same.
Yeah.
I'm really honored that you would allow me to be in your world like this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody who is tuning in, listening to us. Catch us next time on This Side Up.